Yeah.
Well, welcome back to Crowley House Flower Farm. Today we have a drizzly, measly, gross kind of day, but I decided to go ahead and get off the farm and go just take in the sights. We live in a wetland area, so we have lots and lots of wildlife, and that's one of my favorite things to do is just go and see what wildlife are about and take in the sights, get some fresh air, and it's just a beautiful way to spend a wet, dreary day. The other thing we're going to be doing in this video is I need to feed the hummingbirds. We have hummingbirds that stay here on our farm year-round, so I'm going to be making some more food. They just ran out, and I think they speak to me in some weird way of saying, hey, you need to feed us. So I'm feeling a little guilty about that. So we're gonna feed them, and then I'm going to go ahead and get my Lisianthus started. So I thought you might want to join me while I start seeding some of those up. Anyways, I hope you enjoy the video. Okay, we're back here on the farm. I love getting out like that, and Braden came with me, so that was super nice. We just kind of tootled around, and it was quiet. The rain was falling, and birds were everywhere. I am back in the greenhouse. The rain is still coming down. It is just gray and miserable out, so I thought, what a better project to do than to start my Lisianthus, which, if you know anything about Lisianthus, they kind of have a reputation of being one of the harder flowers to start for the cut garden. So I love a good challenge, just like most gardeners and farmers do. So I am just gonna go ahead and get some trays started. I do always every year have a backup plan, which I have trays ordered as well through our wholesaler, which will be coming here shortly. We generally plant these out May, June sometime. I do use Lisianthus mainly in the late summer and fall because that's the time that, I don't know, I just feel like they're most appropriate. We do a lot of weddings in August, September, October. It's a huge wedding month for us here on the farm. And so Lisianthus just acts as the star of the show. In the spring, we have ranunculus anemones and peonies, roses, that kind of thing. And then I find that Lisianthus is appropriate to be alongside the dahlias and the sunflowers and all the fun kind of fall colored things like peony foliage and herbs. I don't know, the list goes on. I mean, August is like a plethora of cut flowers. My goal is to have them blooming in August, September, October, maybe even into Thanksgiving, which this year we had a few pushing into Thanksgiving. So my choices on my Lisianthus were for late summer and fall. And so all of our seed came from Johnny Seeds. So when you pick out your seed, there's a little number here that says like what it is. And there's usually a 1, 2, and a 3. And so we tend to do the number 2 and the number 3, which gives us later in the season flowers. Now I generally will grow all of these in the hoop house under cover. All the colors we grow are white, peach, champagne, and more wedding colors because that's what we use it for. We do use it in mixed bouquets occasionally, but not very often. Okay, so I'm gonna go through the list of ones that I chose this year. I got Voyager 2 Champagne, Voyager 2 White, Voyager 2 Light Apricot, Voyager 2 First Love. I've never grown this one, so that'll be kind of fun. And then for later in the season, I got Corelli 3 Light Pink, Arena 3 Gold. So I thought those would be really nice for fall. We'll see. You honestly cannot go wrong with Lisianthus. They are just one of the most stunning, beautiful flowers. They kind of remind me a little bit of like a carnation, like the stem and everything, but the look of them is just fluffy and airy. And every wedding that we do, people always request them because they are just a stunner and a showstopper, and people will stop and say, what is that? The great thing is they have a really long vase life. So if we're using them for something that needs to be longer, like a mixed bouquet that's going to grocery or something like that, you could definitely pop them in there. Also, when you're doing a wedding, as a farmer florist, we love them because they tolerate heat really well, and they can be sometimes out of water for a little bit of length of time. You can also dry them. I mean, we've dried them in the past. They're not the most stunning dried flower, but they do have this beautiful papery, it's almost like when you were a kid, those paper mache things that you used, and you used a pencil and the glue and you kind of like stuck it down and it like, you know, you made this beautiful little paper mache, whatever it was. That's kind of what it reminds me of when it's dry. So, okay, the things you need for Lisianthus, I like to start with a really good starting medium. So I kind of have a deeper cell tray that's plastic, and a lot of people like to do soil blocking. I just don't. We just don't do it here on our farm for a number of reasons, but I just like to do it in here. So it works really, really well for me. So I got a tray, and what I'm going to do, because I'm only starting a couple trays, is I'm going to start 3 varieties here because there's only 50 pelleted seeds in every vial that comes. I'll show you that in just a minute, but that just makes it easier because the seeds are super small. So this is a 128 tray, and it's got a little bit of depth to it, which I like. Will help me with moisture levels, because that's one thing that Lisianthus absolutely need, is just a constant moisture. They definitely need some lights to grow. I'm gonna pop them underneath the lights as soon as we're done here. And they're kind of sensitive about temperature. So on Johnny's website and on their back of their packages tells you exactly how to do it, and you follow those instructions and you'll be fine. The one thing I know about Lisianthus is that it takes forever for them to germinate, usually around 2 weeks. And then when they do, they're these tiny, tiny little seedlings that just kind of stay stagnant. It's just very strange. But that's what they do, and they'll grow very, very slowly. But once you get them out in the field, or in our case, the hoop house, they're super, super small. We get them out into the greenhouse and they just take off. And we have them almost waist high by the time that they're ready to pick. And partly because we're underneath this greenhouse here. And we've grown them amazingly in here. The other thing that you'll need is some nice vermiculite. This will really, really help and aid. I find that if you're doing Lisianthus, this is gonna take the heartache out of all the things that go wrong with Lisianthus starting. Vermiculite it's kind of like a sandy feel to it. You can find this at any hardware store. I just ran down to our local Ace and grabbed it. But what it does is helps kind of keep moisture control. It helps keep the gnats off, and yeah, it just kind of lightens the soil, retains moisture. Get yourself some of this before you start your Lisianthus. January is typically, because we're here in zone 8B, January is our typical day or time to start our Lisianthus. So it's one of the very first things that we start, other than ranunculus anemones. We did our second run on those just yesterday. Got those going. Super excited about that. The first ones are planted out. Yeah, anemones are, oh my gosh, you guys, it's so much. It's so fun. So, okay, I'm gonna get to planting. So I wanted to show you just the vial of seeds that they come in. They're called pelleted seeds, and it's like a clay, is my understanding, around them, and that just dissolves when you get a little bit of water on it. But see, that bright yellow helps me see where I'm putting them because the seeds are so dang tiny. And so what we're gonna do is, there's 50 seeds in this. I'm just gonna do a couple seeds per little tray so we make sure that they do germinate. And then this has actually, let me look. Sometimes they put a germination rate on here. Yeah, 95%. So actually it's pretty good germination rate. So maybe I'll just do one seed and see how it goes. We'll see, because that would be really cool. And then I wouldn't have to prick out. I'm gonna show you guys how I do that later. Not on Lisianthus, I don't like to do that, but some of our flowers we do a pricking out, which is really cool. It's easy and it saves on soil. So I'm gonna get all my trays filled with soil, get them moistened down, and then I'm gonna put my seeds on, sprinkle a little bit of vermiculite over the top, and then pop them under the lights in the studio to get growing. This is exciting. So I got all my seed trays ready to go, got the labels on them, and now I just have to seed them up and put them in the studio in a few. It should go really quick. So I'm just putting a thin layer of vermiculite over the top. I still want to see the little seeds, which some of them are yellow and really easy to see, and then others were white and almost looked like the perlite that was in the mixture, the soil mixture. So that made it a little hard, but just getting this covered, and then I'm gonna take it in and put it on some lights. Okay, that looks good. Okay, so I just put the Lisianthus on the heat mat, turned the lights on. I set the heat mat for, I think it was 70. It said on the package to do that. I know they like it a little bit cooler, but that's what it said on the package, so I'm gonna follow the rules on their Lisianthus, and it's worked every time. Now, the last 2 years I have not seeded these. You'll definitely want to put some sort of air circulation. We always put in a few little fans to kind of move the air around in the studio. What I would say about Lisianthus, and for if you're a new gardener or a new flower farmer or just growing some things for yourself, I would say give it a whirl, and then give it another whirl, and then give it a third whirl. It's worth the challenge to go ahead and do something that is really hard, or in people's mindsets is really hard to do, or just takes a lot of time and patience, and just keep going, you know. And that's with all of our flowers. I remember the first time when the very first thing I ever sowed for a crop was sweet peas, and they failed miserably, but I keep growing and keep growing, and I think that's why I try and perfect it and do better every year with our sweet peas. And in general, I just try and pick a crop to just do better each year growing. My last job today is to go ahead in the kitchen where it's nice and warm. I'm kind of chilled, not gonna lie. It was a beautiful day. I mean, it rained off and on, but it got cold. So, and standing still and doing the seeding, that makes you chilled. So I'm gonna go inside, I'm gonna make some hummingbird feed, get them all happy again. I might even put out some thistle for the cute little finches, and that'll make me happy. That's just for myself. So I'm gonna head into the kitchen and get that going. The hummingbird feed is very, very simple. I take about a cup of water to a quarter cup of sugar. The sugar can be just regular, inexpensive white sugar. And then you're gonna boil it on the stove for about a minute, stirring just to make sure that all the sugar is incorporated. And then you just let it sit and cool until it's completely cooled down, and then you can add it to your feeder. Now, with all feeders, you want to make sure that the feeder is cleaned properly each time that you dispense new seed or new hummingbird feed. So just making sure that there's, you know, clean and free of all debris and bugs and algae or whatever is growing in it. Super important that we do that every time if you're going to feed birds. Until next time, much success in all you do and grow, and we will be seeing you shortly back here at Crowley House very soon. And happy planting. Go get yourself some Lisianthus. It's not too late. Give it a whirl and let me know how it goes. Bye-bye.